Crawl back to the hole you came from. The words cut sharper than any blade, spat with venom across the crowded hallway. Laughter exploded, books scattered, and for a heartbeat, the world seemed to celebrate cruelty. But the bullies didn't know the truth. They hadn't just picked on a quiet new girl. They had awakened a storm of fighter forged in silence and loss. Amara knelt slowly, gathering her books from the floor. The pages trembled in her hands, but her heart did not. Around her, the jeers of classmates echoed like a cruel chorus. Feet shuffled closer. Phone cameras hovered in eager hands. To them, she was small, powerless, easy prey. Yet even as they sneered, her eyes stayed calm, unshaken. Like still water hiding deep currents thought, she had arrived at this school only days ago. Her skin, her accent, her silence, everything about her seemed to mark her as different. Teachers called her shy. Students called her strange. The bullies called her weak. They did not know that the same silence they mocked was the silence of someone who had lived through storms they could never imagine dot at night. Amara still saw her father's boots by the door, still heard his voice teaching her patience and grit. A soldier, a protector, a man who never came home. The folded flag on the mantel was proof of his sacrifice. The scent of his jacket, long faded, lingered in her memory like smoke. She had sworn with trembling hands that day that she would carry his strength forward. Even if I stand alone, I will not bow. Her aunt's garage became her battleground. The crack of her fist against the leather bag, the sting of sweat in her eyes, the taste of grit on her tongue all became routine. No one clapped. No one watched. She fought shadows and silence, shaping her body into steel and her heart into stone. She did not train to impress. She trained because survival demanded it. Because dignity was not given, it had to be defended back in the hallway. One bully shoved her shoulder hard enough to send her notebook sliding. Laughter followed like thunder. Another boy leaned close, whispering a mockery of her accent. Amara bent, picked up her notebook, and stood without a word. The storm in her chest remained contained, but the bullies mistook her silence for fear. They didn't see the fire behind her steady gaze. Not yet. The crowd grew thicker. Dozens of eyes watched, but no one spoke up. Some looked away. Others smirked. A few filmed. Their silence was heavier than the insults, heavier than the shove. But Amara knew this silence. She had felt it when neighbors ignored her family's struggles, when strangers passed her by as though she were invisible. She knew silence could be cruel, but it could also be powerful. The bullies circled tighter. One kicked her pen across the floor. Another mimicked her walk. Their leader raised his hand again, ready to push her harder this time, ready to break her pride in front of everyone. The hallway leaned in. Phones hovered higher. The crowd hungered for collapse, for drama, for cruelty disguised as entertainment, but Amara inhaled. Her father's words surged through her blood. Strength is knowing when to rise in one fluid motion. She caught his wrist before it touched her. Gasps rippled through the hallway. His arrogance crumbled as he twisted his arm down with precision, not rage. His knees struck the floor, his mouth open in shock. She did not strike. She did not scream. She simply held his gaze with calm fire. "Respect is not taken," she said, voice steady as iron. "It is earned." The hallway was frozen. The phones lowered. The bullies, once loud, stood trembling in silence. Amara released his wrist and stepped back, her books tucked to her chest like shields of honor. Her eyes swept the crowd, unafraid. "My strength was not built to destroy you," she said softly, "but to protect me." Those words cut deeper than any blow. The students who once mocked her now stared in awe. A few began to clap hesitant, then steady, until the sound filled the air. Amara turned and walked down the hallway. Each step echoed louder than their laughter ever had. The bullies shrank into the background, their power stripped away, their cruelty silenced. For the first time, Amara was no longer the new girl. She was the storm that chose calm over chaos. The quiet fighter who proved that silence, when held with dignity, can roar louder than violence. And in that walk forward, she claimed not just her respect, but her place.